I'll call the meeting to order for the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency. I'm Mayor Kindig from the city of La Vista. We're also joined by representatives of the 4 other cities, including Papillion, Gretna, Bellevue, and Springfield. And then Sarpy County is represented today also. Chairman Kelly's not here today. David Klug is filling in for him. I know I won't be exactly like Chairman Kelly, but he usually introduces that we're also joined by Lisa Hare, our agency secretary, Adam, our attorney, and Jeff Thompson, our engineer, and then Mark, our finance director, and Dan Hoynes, our executive director. With that, please silence your phone, and if you could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lisa, you don't take a roll call, do you?
No, you already did. You're fine.
Very good. So I don't have any announcements or comments, anything from the agency board members. No. I'll move right into staff updates. Administrator Dan Hoynes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, member mayors, Commissioner Klug, welcome to our meeting. Briefly, Mr. Vice Chair, member mayors, spent a significant amount of time the last month working on a draft for the proposed pioneering/reimbursement policy that we discussed at length at our last meeting. Did ask for and received written comments from most of the city members on what that policy should include. I think those were due April 11th. Received the agency attorney created a draft based on research from other cities and entities about what would be legal and appropriate. I've held several meetings about how we would analyze the financial impact of any potential reimbursement and what that would mean to our rate model. So that's been a rather significant amount of time, although I think we're really close. The next step for me is to finalize. I have a couple more meetings with finance people, and Mark's going to give you a little bit of a look under the hood today about some of the information that we're already seeing and moving forward by updating the current rate model. That's the base for what we need to do before we apply a policy coming in. But when we get that done here, probably the next week, then I'll ship that draft off to all the administrators, schedule a meeting, have a discussion with them, tell them what the agency staff and consultants' recommendations will be to the board. And then as we work through that, we'll bring that up for a vote for you folks at some point. So that is, again, kind of a heavy lift at this particular point for me. I did also appoint a committee to do a review of our growth management plan. We've referenced that. That's a bit of an arduous process. We have staff and consultants did a first run, submitted it out to the members, and then each member is assigned, I think, 2 or 3 members to work on that growth management plan update committee. The first meeting is 1 week from today, I believe, that we're going to do that, and then I anticipate that being several month process. WIFIA loan modification update. I've had some interactions with those folks. Is just by recollection reference. The modification that we asked was to be able to use the remaining WIFIA funds to fund phases 1B, Phase 2, often referred to, according to DPE, design permitting easement acquisitions for both Phase 1B and Phase 2. Initial feedback we're getting from WIFIA is they are reluctant to fund, and the total modification for all of the DPE right now is 13.7, give or take. They've indicated that they would be reluctant to allow us to use the $6 million for the actual easement acquisitions. The feedback we're getting, and we're having some back and forth with them, asking them to reconsider it, is we don't have construction funding. That's the reason that they're balking at that. Regardless of whether or not they allow us to do that, I think it's going to be very important for us to actually acquire those easements just for cost and certainty, and we'll work on funding all options or alternatives moving forward from that. I am meeting with Tim Gay on May 8th to go to Lincoln and do some funding requests to start looking for how we can fund that. But that, Mr. Vice Chair, Member Mayors, Commissioner Klug, I'll just stop there to answer any questions you may have.
Not seeing any. Thank you, Dan. We'll move on to the engineer report. Jeff?
Vice Chair Kindig, agency board members, Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. I do have a few slides to share, visuals today. I know I haven't reported in this manner for a couple of months, but things are going very well with the decommissioning at the Sarpy County, or excuse me, the City of Springfield's wastewater treatment plant facility. This is a photo that you're looking at here, looking kind of northeast of the property from Highway 50. As you can see, the aeration basin, clarifier, and one of the lagoons at that facility have been completely removed and taken out of service. Also happy to report we had a meeting with NDE on Monday related to this decommissioning process, and they didn't have any negative feedback or nothing substantial to report in their findings. So another photo just looking basically due east. You can see the equalization basin in the background and some of the other work that's going on there. Just kind of doing some site cleanup and some rough grading and whatnot around the site. So thought it'd be helpful to see some photos of what we got currently going on as we can continue to progress. That's looking straight north. And then that's just an aerial looking straight down from the property. So as Dan had alluded to, we've been working on several other things. Reimbursement policy has been providing a lot of support in regards to that reimbursement policy update, the GMP updates, also working on getting our SRF loan closed out and our final payment from NDE on that final payment. It's about $2.5 million that we still have sitting out there. They had some additional paperwork that they'd requested, and we're trying to provide all that so we can get that closed out. Also been spending a lot of time related to the condemnation hearings and proceedings associated with the two property owners that were under condemnation. I can't really disclose anything right now in public forum, but we'll tell you that we have been deposing several of their expert witnesses and working through that whole process as far as coming to some resolution there, and hopefully have something relatively soon to report. Also been working with the City of Bellevue, or will be working with the City of Bellevue and the City of Papillion on our master service agreements. As you're aware, we have one master service agreement in place right now with the City of Springfield. We have an MOU with Sarpy County, so we're working on those actual master service agreements with those other three entities to try to get them into position to be able to provide service immediately if and when they have development potential. So there's not a lot of lag in that. So drafts have been set, and we're working back and forth right now with staff to try to address any concerns they might have. And then finally, as you maybe recall, we had a contract with RJN Engineering to provide us with some flow metering services. We're working through getting that software platform up and running and getting everything aligned there so that we have access to that, and they will be providing that flow monitoring and some oversight as it relates to that. So I won't take up any more of your time, but happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anything for Jeff?
No.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
We'll move right on to the financial report. Mark?
Members of the board, I'm Mark Setout, Agency Treasurer. This is the monthly financial dashboard for the period ending March 31, 2025. Revenue side, not much change since last month. Connection fees remain unchanged at $3.3 million to date for the fiscal year. We are collecting monthly flow revenue from Sarpy County now, so that number increased from 17,000 to 29,000 over the month. Federal earmarks remained unchanged, as did the DNR contract, the cold water blowdown, Gemini replacement, and flow meter reimbursement amounts. Those all stayed the same. Miscellaneous income actually went down. Hawkins revised their pass-through invoice to the agency, so we revised our receivable invoice that was out to Oakleaf. That was for clean out of a line at the Oakleaf and Papillion. Interest income is right on budget for the year. We're collecting about $15,000 to $16,000 a month. That's everything on the revenue side. Moving on to expenses. I won't go through each of these line items individually, but if anyone has a question, I'll be happy to answer that. We are 75% of the way through the fiscal year, and we are at 47% of the budget for our expenses. Loan balances, the SRF loan remains unchanged. WIFIA ticked up $268,000 as we reimburse for project costs. The next debt service payments, scroll down, aren't due until June. Pilot funds remain unchanged since earlier in the fiscal year. And cash was up roughly $160,000. That's just timing on the WIFIA draw and reimbursement, coupled with the relatively low amount of AP for the month. That's all that I have for the financial dashboard. I do have a brief update on the rate model, as Dan mentioned. So if there are no questions on the dashboard, I'll move on to that.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, so we provided an update on the rate model last year in April of 2024. This is an update over the last year for fiscal 2025 up to date now. I'm going to discuss a few significant events that occurred between the last update to now and show you how that is affecting the numbers today relative to the debt service coverage. So all other and future KPIs are going to remain unchanged unless noted. So significant events. There are three major financial drivers to note within the agency. One, we're projecting $2.2 million surplus in connection fees versus the budget and rate model projections. That is primarily from Meta. Two, actual project expenses were lower than budgeted in the rate model. At the direction of the WIFIA team, we had a high level of contingency funds that were built into the project costs. And the overall construction team value engineered the project along the way to help reduce project costs as well. Number three is the agency borrowed WIFIA funds at a lower rate than forecasted. So the lower project costs reduced the amount borrowed year over year and changed the timing of the subsequent debt service payments. This slide shows the debt service ratio year over year in graph form. This is net income divided by debt service amount, as we all know. That's shown in the blue line. The WIFIA covenant requirement is the red line. 1.1 is that floor, right? The graph on the left shows the rate model using the April 2024 projections. You can see that we come really close to our pinch point there at the 1.1, which is the floor, in 2031 that we have discussed and we're all aware of. That is when the WIFIA interest payments start becoming due. So the graph on the right shows the updated rate model numbers, adjusting for those significant events that I noted in the previous slide. So what this graph is showing us is that our debt service coverage ratio goes up compared to the projections from the previous rate model, right? Connection fee revenue is increased and expenses are decreased, both of which increase our net income. And then our WIFIA debt payments are also reduced by like $500,000 a year per fiscal year in those next 5 years leading up to that pinch point in 2031. So the ratio then trends upward as the agency becomes more operationally sustainable and collecting more connection fees and rate revenues. This gives the agency and our stakeholders a bit of relief from hitting the floor on the debt service covenant requirement. And we will continue to monitor and refine the rate model as we gather more historical data and are able to better forecast future revenue and expenses. Any questions on the rate model update?
Is this based on, so right now with the WIFIA loan, we've taken out a chunk of it, but we haven't taken all of the loan, correct?
Yes, this still considers the full 45 million.
The full 45 million.
It's just taking it at a different rate than we had anticipated in the previous model.
Okay. And then the savings that you said we're getting out of value engineering, and so we're spending less right now. Are we anticipating that we'll continue to spend less than initially anticipated as time goes on through value engineering and potentially other avenues, or do we still feel that we're going to reach our original forecasts?
I don't know if that's a question maybe for Jeff to answer.
Go for it.
Thank you, Chairman Klug. Yeah, we continue to look for cost savings throughout the project wherever we can, whenever we can. So where we're at right now in the construction process, there's not much more as far as value engineering can go. But as we look towards the design and permitting phase of the next, 2 phases of the project, phase 1B and phase 2, we are going to use the CMAR process similar to what we did, but we'll have the contractor involved much earlier. So I expect that, through that process, we'll see value savings as the design develops. It won't be, here's the cost or potential cost for the project, and now we're going to value engineer it because we, got kind of behind the 8 ball on this first phase of work. So yes, and for all intents and purposes, we are trying to save money wherever we can, whenever we can.
Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely, it's nice to see. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit of a relief.
And the rate model is very conservative in both on the revenue side and the expense side. So we'll continue to monitor that and adjust it as we're boots on the ground. We're getting better understanding of how operations are going to function and all of that too. So with some historical data and everything.
Great. Thank you.
All right, that's it.
Any other questions for Mark?
Other questions?
I'll move on to the consent agenda. If I could have a motion to approve, unless you'd like to pull one of the items off, please make that in your motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Klug, second by Gretna. Any questions or discussions on those items? Lisa, please vote. Sorry.
That's okay.
Getting mixed up between MAPPA and the city and
Okay. And I've got, okay, here we go. Yeas 5, absent Sarpy and Bellevue. Motion carries.
thank you. Moving on to the regular agenda, item number 6 is a resolution number 2025-007, approving the Sarpy County and City's FY 25-26 budget. Dan Hoynes, you want to present that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll defer to the agency treasurer because he has the detail and I can answer policy questions. But while he's queuing up his information here, I did forget one significant update that as of May 2, Lisa Hare will be the full-time agency treasurer. She was offered and accepted a position with the agency last week. Man here is retiring from Sarpy County and going to be working with us full-time on May 2nd. So it sounds kind of strange to say welcome since you've been on it for 7 years, but welcome, Lisa.
Yeah.
So,
Welcome, Lisa.
Okay. And I'm back. All right, so the fiscal year 25-26 budget reflects the agency's shift away from primary construction phase and into an operations phase. I'm going to run through a few slides highlighting some of those line items most affected by this change. We have had several discussions with agency members and staff regarding key line items and metrics within the budget, but this budget remains unchanged from what the agency submitted last month. That's my slide not working here. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, so back to the budget here. We see income reduced significantly because we are no longer borrowing as much money for construction. We see expenses reduced by a modest amount as we still have design, permitting, and easement costs, as well as operations and maintenance costs for the year. We are planning to use the remaining WIFIA funds to cover the planning costs for Phase 1B and Phase 2. This is not the right. I'm sorry. This is not the right presentation. At least this is not the
What do you
right.
want?
This is Dan's presentation versus mine.
Yeah, but you were nailing it, Mark, so if you want to continue.
This is, yeah, but this is Dan. Not mine. Okay, can you pull the other agenda back up and click on it so that it comes up from last month? The one that was under mine?
We were supposed to go up together for MUD.
Let's do the website.
Are we?
Yeah, I don't know.
On the 9th?
I can hit 100 yards in,
From the website?
and I told him that. But,
You could have putted.
well, I can hit 100 yards in. That's usually my putting distance.
It's right up here.
Well, I don't think you're very good at 75, but on the green,
No,
you're pretty
I
good.
suck. That's how come I'm not gonna be able to, I just can't hit one.
Okay, and I scroll down, there should be a link for it.
I'm okay going back,
That
but
one,
when I come through,
I believe,
it's,
yes.
so you can't tell, well, maybe you can.
No,
Your knee's supposed, it's a little bump here.
scroll
Yeah.
back up. Is
Well,
there a presentation?
As you can
Oh.
tell, this one's a little bigger.
Yeah, it's a lot
Like-
bigger.
My knee joint has shifted.
I presented it last month, but I don't see it up.
So your joints actually just,
Because that was the one.
Yeah, so my joint for my knee is like out here.
It's not it.
That's not good.
no. And if you jack with it, it'll just completely,
And
you'll lose a leg or something.
Last month,
But that's
we called it up and I went through it.
Yeah,
But
I've
I
seen it.
guess I don't.
I was at the grandkids.
Can you pull up February then? Go to February. There's your February.
How'd your knee? Yes. It's temporary. Wait till you guys get this over this way.
Scroll down, let me see that.
I gotta hope I get there.
Yeah, know what
Be a
it is.
blessing if I could.
I tell you what, it's shit happens. It don't take very far to look around the block
No, it
and find
doesn't.
somebody that's got it worse.
Oh, for sure.
So,
Oh, I just lost a cousin, like, 60 seconds. Just, you know, like, hey, every day's a blessing.
you know, like today, like, I don't know how, but like, I just felt knocked out. And I worked my ass off yesterday.
You really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Some days you think it-
I am ready now. I apologize for that. Thank you for being patient. So let me find where I'm at here. All right. So we see income reduced significantly because we're no longer borrowing as much money for construction. We see expenses reduced by a modest amount as we still have design, permitting, and easement costs, as well as operations and maintenance costs for the year. We are planning to use the remaining WIFIA funds to cover the planning costs for Phase 1B and Phase 2. And this slide shows what I just said basically in chart form. So the green column is the 25-26 budget numbers, and that's followed by the previous year's numbers in the next column, and then the change in dollars, and then the change in percent. So we project that the revenue from connection fees and flow rates will cover our debt service obligation for the year. We will need to use cash on hand to cover other operational costs. As the agency is better staffed and we transition out of the main construction phase, we will be able to reduce our need for outside consultants and significantly reduce our capital project costs. And again, this chart just shows the small surplus from connection fees and rate revenues after debt service obligation is met up at the top there, and as well as the change year over year for outside consultants and project costs. O&M budget is reduced by 19%, while O&M equipment increases by 86% as we look to purchase a Bobcat and a UTV. So dollar-wise, this is still about a $100,000 net reduction for the two line items. And this chart illustrates the overall dollar amount reduction for these two line items. Personnel and benefit costs will increase by almost 12% with this budget. Health insurance costs will increase by 32% based on the numbers that were provided through the Sarpy County Health Plan.
Wow. Why such a big jump, David? I'm going to ask you a county question on that one. Why did that
Lot of
go
it
up?
had to do with us
Because we
assuming-
didn't add any members.
We picked up the secretary for the full year.
Yeah.
So it's
healthcare.
not just cost increase, it's
Yeah.
also staff increase.
Okay, so,
It includes bringing on the additional FTE.
okay,
So that's why,
it's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be asking those questions.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have been more clear with that. I apologize.
Their number went down.
There, yeah. So, thank you.
So in
I'm
this,
sorry, there was one other issue too. Yeah, well, I forget what it was. It's not all just in premium increase. It was bringing on Lisa, and we realigned some bookkeeping or something. What was it?
Well, the personnel costs,
Use your mic.
the personnel costs are increased because we moved the treasurer position from
That's it.
contracts to personnel.
To that line,
so
item, Mayor. That's
that
it.
was falling into a different expense
Okay.
bucket there for personnel and benefits.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you explained it. Thank you.
So,
I thought it was premium.
all right, so. Last item to note is that this budget shows a net income loss of $934,000. I don't have a slide for that, but I do have this graphic from the 2024 rate model. I'm referencing this previous version of the rate model because it shows a projected net income loss of $1.4 million for fiscal year 2026. And we are forecasting only $934,000 net income loss with this current budget. So the agency Rate model has always projected and intended to use cash on hand to subsidize the first few years of operations as we work to stand the system up and start generating sustainable levels of connection fees and rate revenue. Moreover, the agency's ending cash balance shown here for fiscal 2025 is now forecasted to be close to $10 million, exceeding the projected $7.8 million from the previous rate model. So we believe this budget reflects the positive financial trend the agency is moving towards and outperforming several KPIs within the rate model as we gather actual data and gain real-time understanding of the agency's operations. The full budget with year-over-year comparison and line item detail is available for your review. These are the items from the budget that we wanted to highlight for you today, and I'd be happy to answer any additional questions you may have. Thank you.
Just one question, and on the email we traded, and then it ties a little bit Mr. Hoynes' opening comment about the WIFIA loan in phase 1B and 2. So WIFIA is telling us, at least right now, we cannot use the additional funds for right-of-way acquisition. We do have right-of-way acquisition at $8 million in the budget, so we're still planning to do it. The question is, from a funding, is this budget that we're approving still assuming we're going to use $8 million from the loan, or are we assuming we're using $8 million from cash and not using the loan?
$8 million from the loan.
Okay. So if they change their mind, then we got to deal with that issue.
Correct. And, and any expenses we'd have for that, I have to come back before this board.
Yeah.
And they're just, fingers crossed, we hope. Reality, I don't know if we'll be able to accomplish it all in a year, but it's certainly an important objective.
The main thing was out there was just that we've been talking about they may not approve that, but we're approving a budget assuming they are going to allow it, so we're still in that negotiation.
Well, again, to appreciate Mayor Black sent an email today saying, hey, this is showing a deficit. Well, we've always shown a deficit. It's less draconian than we thought it would be a year ago, so we're trending the right way. So
but
that curve does this.
But it still assumes we will use the WIFIA loan for 1B and 2.
Yeah, 45 million is projected to get to that 1.7. We're at 1.1, and it's now, if we do nothing, I call it, it's 1.7 is our debt service for our bonds. That's assuming we borrow every penny of the 45 million, Mayor Black.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions from the agency for Mark or Dan? Very good. Thank you, Mark. With that, could I have a motion to approve the Sarpy County City's 25-26 budget?
I'll move. Second.
Got a motion by Springfield and a second by Papillion. Any further discussion? If not, please vote.
I am waiting for. I only have 5 on here.
Did you vote?
Everybody in? Oh,
I'm missing you.
sorry.
There we go.
It's hard.
We don't vote at cities, do we, guys?
Yay 6,
different when you're running the thing,
nays none,
I
motion
know,
carried.
I know. So,
I'm not used to voting when you're running.
thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Keep me in line. Agenda item 7 is a resolution for the number 2025-008, approving professional services proposals with Evaqua Water Technologies. Jeff Thompson?
Vice Chair Kindig, agency board members, Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. The service proposal that you see before you this afternoon is simply a renewal. This is for the bioxide product. It's the chemical that we're using to feed into the system to help prevent the buildup and creation of H2S gas, which is highly corrosive and also is what creates the odor and smell that you get from wastewater. The price per gallon has not changed since last year's contract, so there's really no net increase in regards to cost differential between last year and this year on a per gallon basis. But they did ask for a renewal of the contract, and I'd recommend approval, but would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Jeff? If not, I take a motion, a second to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Gretna and a second by Springfield. Is there any further discussion or questions? If not, please vote.
Missing you, Mayor. There we go. Gotcha this time.
That a boy.
Yea, 6, nays, none, motion carried.
Agenda item number 8 is Resolution 2025-009, approving our growth management plan. It's an exception request for 17801 Buffalo Road in Springfield, Nebraska. Jeff?
Vice Chair Kindig, agency board members, Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. This request is very straightforward in regards to most of the exception requests that you see. The policy that we currently have in place states that anything that was pre-platted or rezoned prior to the August 19th of 2019 date stands as it currently did prior to the formation of the agency and all of the adoption of our growth management plan policies and fees, and it's specifically stated as such in our growth management plan. So based on that particular section of the growth management plan, we recommend that this be approved and no fees be charged to this particular lot with an allowance of a septic system similar to what we've required for others. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Jeff? Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved, Sarpy.
Second.
Motion by Sarpy and a second by Gretna. If there's no further discussion, please vote.
No, it's way down there. Way south.
Can you get it, Mayor Kindig? There we go.
The ridge almost, isn't it?
All ayes,
Yea,
resolution
6,
carries.
nays, none, motion carried.
Thank you.
With that, thanks, Jeff. With that, I'll make the announcement. The next meeting is May 28th, next month. And if there's no further discussion or questions by the agency, I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting and wish everybody a good rest of the week. Thank you.